And good morning, everybody. It is Fabulous Friday featuring Nicholas Spohn. Now, Nicholas, I have known of you for a long time. However, it was only last year at Hypnothoughts Live that we actually got to spend some time together because we were in the same class with Rich Guzzi, and it was very funny. It was a very funny class because you and I were what were we doing? Co-hosting, presenting.
We were doing a role play like we were on TV, and Rich was demonstrating how to go on and do a TV show. And so we were both news anchors, if I remember correctly.
That's it. And then he suddenly, because I am a somnambulist, he suddenly went, and I just went out like that. And then he got me to be really rude to you. And it was just, and I knew I was doing it.
I remember.
It was just hilarious. I mean, the things that we can do in hypnosis, it's quite wonderful, really. And Nicholas, I'm just going to say this as well. Here's me talking. This is actually about you. But you recently sent out some emails, and I read your emails, believe it or not. And in it, you actually said, that you got somebody to forget their name. And if we can help somebody forget their name, what else can we help them forget?
Yeah, the mind is very powerful. And that email you were talking about, I met a guy at the gym and we were sitting in the sauna together, and it came up that I was a hypnotist, and he said, "Oh, can you make me forget my name?" or something like that. And in 3 minutes of conversation, I did some embedded commands and some state changes and some focus shifts. And his name was gone from his mind. I didn't have him close his eyes. I didn't have him do anything. What I had him do was focus and to expect. And what happens is we hypnotize ourselves all the time, and society hypnotizes us all the time to shift our focus and to expect certain things. And when we focus on something, we tend to make it part of our reality, right? We tend to block everything else out that isn't that thing that we're focused on. And we experience it like it's our reality. Like when Rich hypnotized you, you were so focused that you had the experience of being hypnotized as or I guess it was of being angry with me, right? That became your experience. And even though it wasn't real, quote unquote real, even though somebody doesn't actually forget their name or their hand doesn't stick to the table, when they focus on the experience, it becomes real to them. And so for a lot of practical purposes, that's what hypnosis is.
Focused attention. Absolutely. And we all know that because children can be like glued to the television. Well, actually, a lot of people can to sports, and you're going, hello, whatever it is. And when, of course, there's highway hypnosis, driving.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's this concept that I call double-mindedness. And what happens with most people who are setting goals, and this is what you and I help people with hypnosis, is they're double-minded. So they have this image in their mind of the goal that they want to achieve and who they want to become. And then they also at the same time have an image of, well, what if I fail? What if I screw up? What if people reject me? And so people tend to go back and forth between confidence and forward motion, and then they go backwards because they're holding two images at the same time. And with hypnosis, we can shift their focus to be completely and exclusively on the outcome that they want, such that the idea of failure doesn't even enter their consciousness.
Yeah. And that is why self-hypnosis is so powerful. Daydreaming. When you're dreaming about these and you're running good movies in your head of, oh, this is going to happen, then that's going to happen. And then it probably will.
We're always creating the things that we're picturing and we're hearing inside of our head. And so when we can take control of that and we can picture ourselves as successful and as happy, as charismatic, wealthy, and we can hold those images, we tend to manifest that in our life. We are always creating what we are imagining. And it's like, this is a great example. So have you ever been on the way home to see your partner and you have this argument in your head about them? You're like, oh, they did this and I'm angry. And you rehearse that argument. And then what happens? You get home and you have a loving interaction. No, you have literally the exact same argument that you had in your head. This is what mental rehearsal is. And if you can catch yourself rehearsing failure, rehearsing arguments, rehearsing the things you're stressed about, and you go, oh, wait a second, that's not what I want to bring into reality. And you can shift your focus through self-hypnosis and mental rehearsal and vivid imagination and really extreme focus. Then you get home and you have a loving interaction with your partner. Then you get on stage and you crush it and you feel charismatic and confident. And so or you get on a sales call and you're relaxed and you make the sale versus feeling stressed and worried. And so we're always just creating that which we're focused on. And that's really just what hypnosis is.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's something that I do in my sessions. I get people to run a good movie in their head. Make it a good movie, because we are the movies we play in our heads. Are we not?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is another brilliant thing that the subconscious mind does, is when you have them experience that movie, you don't have to tell them how to make it happen. You just have to put that idea of the experience into the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind in its brilliance goes and figures out how to make it happen.
Yeah.
Most people set a goal and they don't give it to their subconscious mind. And then they see, oh, how am I ever going to make that happen? And they get stuck in what I call the tyranny of how, because we don't know how yet, right? Like that's the whole point of making a big goal, is we don't see all the steps, but we live in the imagination of that dream, of that goal being manifest. And then our subconscious mind guides us through impulses and urges and intuition to get that end state. So all we have to do is what you're doing with your clients, is get them to imagine and make movies and see themselves having created the thing that they want to create.
Yeah. And then they've done the work. And then it's like, well, you did it. You did that. And it's like, oh, I did, didn't I? Yes. And you can do it again and again and again. And I record that for them, and then they can keep on doing that. So
Beautiful.
Change work happens. Gotta love it. You were so kind though, Nicholas. You did some energy work on me, because I was feeling a little bit rough on one of the days. I've been out celebrating, and somebody had magically sort of like kept producing some Prosecco for me. I don't know how that happened. Every time I went to the bathroom, I came back and my glass was refilled, and I didn't realize after one or two. So anyway, I was feeling a little bit worse for wear, but you did this energy thing on me. I don't know if you remember doing that.
I remember.
And it was like, I could literally, I remember tingling all over. I don't exactly know what you did, but you know what, Nicholas, tell us about you and what you like to specialize in, or just tell us about you, because, you know, we've been talking about something else, but this is actually meant to be about you.
Okay. And then we'll also answer that energy question, because I do some things, I tie that stuff in. So
Okay.
I really started, unfortunately, like a lot of people in the hypnosis world, I started reading books, learning how to pick up women, because as you know, men, we don't understand you women. It's like, there's no manual that comes with it. Like, and what do men want more than to understand and connect with women? Like, that's a straight man anyway. That's the most important thing there is, right? And so, and I know many others got into hypnosis and influence this way. So that's kind of where I started. And then I started reading books on body language, on entrepreneurship. I went to a Tony Robbins event. Actually, before that, I was coaching wrestling, and I read this book. I actually have it right here, Psycho-Cybernetics, which is about how to change your self-image and how to put an idea into your subconscious mind. And so I was coaching wrestling at the time, kind of part-time, but I was having my wrestlers do guided visualization. And really it was hypnosis, but it was, you know, a pretty basic form of it. And so they would go out and they started performing better. We won the state tournament as a team. And they would come up to me, you know, before every match, and they'd want to be hypnotized and do these visualization exercises. So I was like, there's something here. I went to a Tony Robbins event. Then I trained with Sandra Grace and Paul Ramsey. Paul's speaking at HypnoThoughts. And so Sandra. And then I trained with Mike Mandel, Freddie Jacquin, Rich Guzzi, David Snyder, you know, everybody that's at the hypno thoughts, essentially. Roy Hunter, the list goes on. And I just got really obsessed with it, and I got really into hypnosis and the mind and the spiritual principles behind it. And that's kind of been my path. And then I started teaching it, and I did, and I'll do it again, but I did a 4-day event called Resonance, where I teach people how to tune into different frequencies, how to change their state quickly. And they realize in the first day that they're not a victim of their mental and emotional state. And that literally in 30 seconds or less, they can go from a state of fear into a state of total confidence or charisma or gratitude or love. And so that's a 4-day process of tons of mental rehearsal and vivid imagination and some of the energy stuff. And then I've also got into pranic healing with Master Stephen Coe, which is more of the energy work. And what he does with, he does a lot of like hands-on energy healing. Mm-hmm. What he does with the hands, I use my mouth and hypnosis for, right? Like I'm using language instead of my hands as much. And that's what I did with you as a process to move energy through your system in a way that cleared out some of that hungover energy. And it's, and with hypnosis, and when you combine the two, the energy stuff and the hypnosis, I mean, you can get rid of headaches. I had a few clients that either had COVID or had hangover, had a side effects from the COVID shot, that with hypnosis cleared all of the symptoms for both of those. Not every time, but things like that are they work, and it's really powerful.
Yeah, no, so helpful because I don't drink that much. So when it's like it really affected me, and I was like, oh my goodness. Yeah, I was out of it because I hadn't drunk the whole week and the whole conference, because I wanted to be, on I wanted to be there completely focused.
But let me bring up another point here. You're a great hypnotic subject, and many people would see that your experience with Rich, and they'd be like, oh, I don't want that to happen. But when you have that skill, you can take an idea from your conscious mind and implant it into your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind will move you in the direction of your goals. So most people, they don't understand that it's actually a good thing to be a great hypnotic subject, because we did the energy thing, and literally, I don't know, it was probably a minute, probably less than 3 minutes. You went from being hungover to feeling totally refreshed.
Yeah.
And that's such an incredible skill to have that most people don't realize. So when I'm going to hypnotize someone, or I'm introducing the idea of hypnosis, one of the first things I say is, it's just a pre-frame. And I say, well, obviously, like the most successful people in the world, they can take an idea from their conscious mind and implant it into their subconscious mind. They're really great hypnotic subjects. And so everyone that hears that goes, well, I want to be successful, right? Like, who doesn't want to be successful? So it opens people up to have that experience.
Actually, you're quite right. It's my superpower.
And you've studied hypnosis, so you know how to use it and protect yourself when you need to. But I've got a friend of mine who is like somnambulist like you, or even more. Like, I can snap my fingers and his head drops. I can even, he can not be looking at me, and I'll put myself into a trance and he'll drop down into trance, because of our connection. And sometimes he'll watch the media and he'll get so caught up in whatever the media is saying that becomes his experience, and the world is ending, and
oh dear. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's so easy to hypnotize. And so he comes to me and I'm like, okay, look, here's the deal. And I snap him out of it in 30 seconds or a minute. But on the plus side, I can put an idea into his mind, and he can go out into the world and make that happen very easily, because his subconscious mind is receptive.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was interesting that you mentioned about the wrestling. And I absolutely believe the power of that so much, that the future progression, the idea of winning. I used to teach, coach netball and lacrosse, actually. I've always been coaching people, training people. I did that when I was very young, and then coaching netball for little children at primary school in England. And we won all the time. Because I'm really competitive. So But the thing is that what's interesting, when I did a sports performance hypnosis training in England, the man came along, and there was loads, because he was really good. There was loads of sports psychologists on there. And I said, how are you saying that you're doing hypnosis? And they said, oh no, we just call it guided meditation. We just call it future pacing. Call it this. And I went, okay. So you see, so many people are using hypnosis. It's the word hypnosis. How do we get away from it? What do you think?
I don't think we necessarily need to. I know, like, Tony Robbins doesn't use the word, but I use it, and I think when you frame it properly, people understand it. When you frame it as, well, what you focus on becomes your reality. All hypnosis is heightened sense of focus. When you frame it like that, and successful people are the best hypnotic subjects, then people are open to it, because I think we need to utilize that word, because there's so much power in it, because people expect to have an incredible experience. And what I say is hypnosis is focus and expectation. So even the people that are like resistant to it, they're resistant to it because they believe deep down that it has some incredible power to shift them or to influence them. And so then all you have to do is change the frame. And here's an easy way to do it. Like, I love to get people's hands stuck on the table. Like, that's one thing I do a lot. And sometimes I'll let them lift their hand. If they're skeptical, they'll lift their hand, and I'll go, see, you're in complete control, aren't you? Now, what if you controlled your experience so that your hand was stuck instead of lifting it? And so they realize, like, oh, I can lift my hand. I'm still in control. And so we let them know they're in control of the process, and then they're open to it. So I think hypnosis it's like, we see people like physiologically react when we say the word, right? Because they know that it has some occult power or and we should take advantage of that and not reject it.
Yeah, no, I agree. So it's actually, I mean, I threw that out as a little red herring. I want to, because
I figured.
I like to do that sort of
You're
thing.
testing me, aren't you?
Yeah. Because I can. And I've also stuck my hand to my table.
Right now?
Yeah.
Well, you can lift it at any time.
Okay. That's what I'm laughing. I literally, honestly, it's like crazy. I'm like, yeah, I'm surprised I can move at all.
That's funny.
I know. I know. In my we were talking about that before. I said I look like Minnie Mouse.
It took me years to be able to have that experience. And then a couple of weeks ago, I was doing a business workshop with a few of my clients, and I was doing the hand stuck on the table thing, and I was, don't do it yet, don't do it. And I was doing the whole thing to them, and my hand was more stuck than it had ever been. And I remember like having this out of body experience, and like, I didn't want to lift my hand. It felt so cool. Like, it felt really good. And I remember initially when I was learning hypnosis, I was like, I don't know if this works. This doesn't work on me. But then I let myself have that experience. And so hypnosis is a state of allowing, right? And so when you allow the experience and you imagine it, what happens is, this is a really cool distinction here. So when you do a mental rehearsal with an athlete and you have them imagine allowing a brilliant performance to come through them, then when they step out on the court or the mat or whatever on the field, it's almost like they become the observer, and they go right back into that hypnotic state, and they allow that performance to flow through them. And that's where real genius lies, is if we can hypnotize someone to imagine allowing a performance to flow through them, and we set up a trigger that anytime you go out onto that field, you're going to perform like this, you're going to feel like this. They step on the field, immediately alpha brainwaves fire, theta brainwaves fire. The subconscious mind takes over the system and performs through them. And now that I'm speaking about it, I'm getting fired up. This happens all the time with our bad habits, right? Like, we say we're going to give up ice cream, and then all of a sudden at midnight, we're in the fridge with a face full of ice cream. And we're like, what just happened? Well, the subconscious mind took over. And so if you leave it how it's programmed now, you probably have some vices or some bad habits or some negative, quote unquote, negative emotions that come up. But when you retrain it into that state of brilliance or self-love, charisma, and then you allow that experience to flow through you and you just become the observer of it, that's where you get this, like, I don't know. Have you experienced this? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. And actually, so you're saying the observer. So what I say is about getting curious, about just notice what you notice.
Mm-hmm.
And take time, and then and because it can take people a while to notice that sort of thing of their behaviors, and then when they do, it is like an epiphany. And as soon as they have that epiphany, then it's like it's gone. The thing is gone. I did that with a smoker this week, actually, or last week. She literally, I was doing some of my emotional intelligence stuff, and I always use metaphors, and I had a little story.
Mm-hmm.
And she just went, I get it. And she just she started crying. And then she was, oh my gosh. And then with it, I've been doing that. And she just went, oh, I feel sick. And I just went, and that's what it's, with the smoke. So I completely come out, and she went, oh yeah. And it's just like, that was it. She's done.
And so you have those moments where people like have this light bulb moment. And then you also have moments where you do a session with someone and 3 months go by, 6 months go by, and they perform totally different, or they act different or behave different in that context, and they don't even realize it. So I was with a client a week or two ago who would get really overwhelmed and stressed out anytime his bank account was running low, or, and what he would do is he would get anxious and he would shut down, so he wouldn't be able to make the money he needed to. So like it would just be this self-fulfilling thing where it would keep him stuck. Mm-hmm. So I did this process and I was like, oh, instead of feeling anxious, you can just feel this way, and whatever. We did a few things. And then I saw him a few weeks ago, and I was like, how's that thing we worked on? And he's like, I totally forgot that I ever had that thing. He was like,
I love it.
I don't get it anymore. Like, I'm more productive. I've got more clients. Like, I don't feel that stress or anxiety anymore. If anything, I feel more motivated in that situation. And I was like, of course, that's right.
You go. That's right. That's right. Because
he didn't even connect that was from our session,
Yeah. And that's another thing. They go, oh my gosh, it was so funny. I did that with somebody with their sleeping. He didn't even work with me. I saw him at networking. Mm-hmm. And he went, oh, no, I can't sleep. And da, da, da. And I said, and I wonder now when you'll begin to find some resources to help you learn how to sleep well and do some, and I can't remember what I said, but now, I kept saying that. Anyway, following week, I did it. I'm sleeping fine. I did, everything. Yeah, I found it all out about myself for myself. I went, just a few embedded commands that you can do this for yourself. And he said, oh, I just found this app, or I just found this other thing, or I just stopped looking at scrolling at nighttime, or whatever it was. It was like, yeah.
That's the power of, and what we do with embedded commands and with presuppositions and all the hypnotic languages, we're really just shifting their focus and expectation. I mean, we have very complex ways to do it, which are kind of fun to learn all these difficult ways. But a lot of times it's just like, hey, imagine what it would be like if this, like, what would you see, hear, feel, and let that become your reality. I mean, sometimes it doesn't have to be, especially with someone like you, who's a great subject. Sometimes it doesn't have to be more complex than that,
I know. I use my imagination all the time.
Me too.
And I do. And I love to play, which is, of course, that's why I do what I do. There's a lot of laughter in my sessions. And so I know I do. I love it. I love what we get to do, Nicholas.
Yes.
So what's next for you?
Well, I run a group called Ministry of the Mind, and we do weekly hypnosis sessions and calls on all different kinds of things. We have a bunch of different programs around some of the things we've been talking about. I've got Freddie Jacquin helps me in some of those programs. I'll give a couple resources. One is the Performance Protocol, which is my trademark protocol on mental rehearsal. And so that teaches people through this, I think 7 or 8 steps on how to master the art of mental rehearsal. And so that's to overcome performance anxiety and to perform like a genius. So they can have access to that. And then I'm working right now on all of my members have been pushing me to do this program on abundance. And so I got this, it's not quite ready yet, but it's a 6-week program that brings up and overcomes every limiting belief on money, like all the money blocks. We create a new money identity. I teach about the frequency of money. We have a whole week on boundaries because boundaries are so important for finances. And so it's all these processes for an abundant mind. And one of the hypnosis sessions I did a couple of weeks ago, just experimenting, was I called it counting cash. And so I had the group was on the call, and I had them imagine pulling out bills and just counting $100 bills or whatever their currency was in their country, and then stacks of silver and gold, and getting checks. And immediately after that, I had 3 people in the group that had manifested money from unexpected resources. I had 3 of my tenants that usually pay with checks because I have rental properties. They were all like, hey, we only have cash this week. So they gave me like, I had a few $1,000s in cash that I didn't normally have. Someone on the call last week listened to the replay of that and got a $1,600 deposit back she didn't expect. And anyway, so we have a bunch of processes like that just tune the mind in to creating an abundant life. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I have the mindset of money comes, money goes, money comes, money comes again, money goes, money goes. It's just an energy.
Let me ask you something. Is it better to inhale or exhale?
Ooh, well, I prefer to inhale.
You have to do both though, right?
Yeah.
You just keep inhaling. It's the same with money.
Oh yeah. So there you go.
Like if it keeps coming in, like, and it just that blocks up and it doesn't serve your life. And so it's got to be this balance of money comes in and money goes out. And so you have to have a healthy relationship with it where you don't go out faster than it's coming in, and you're not just hoarding it either. That's not a healthy relationship. And so we have to retrain our mind a lot of times because our society and our grandparents and parents all had these ideas about money, which really don't serve us anymore.
No, and there's no pockets in a shroud.
That's right.
That's right. So anyway, Nicholas, we could probably talk forever. I will end on there on that's right. And I will. So you're going to give me some links, and I'll get those in the show notes. And thank you for watching, everybody. And no doubt I'll have Nicholas on again because that was really good fun. So take care, everybody. And as I say, it's goodbye from me, Claudia Rickard, and it's goodbye from Nicholas Spohn. So take care. Thank you. Bye.